Hello and welcome to Under the Sticks, presented by Big Red Cloud. My name is Andy McGeady. Visit www.bigredcloud.com for all your online accounting needs. Joining me today, not watching live rugby, but here to talk about rugby, it's Mr. Sean Holly. How are you?
I'm really good, Andy. Fresh off our, what did I call it? Rugby goggle box last Saturday morning. Certainly felt like that, being part of it, and really enjoyable. Got great feedback, personally, and obviously all of us. So it's really enthused me this week because I'm hoping we're going to do it again off the back of this Under the Sticks tonight.
Yes, negotiations with various home fronts are continuing as we speak. Paul Williams, how are you?
I'm good. Other than I am the reason that we're a bit delayed because my computer just did a Mauro Bergamasco at scrum half and tipped the entire table upside down. Oh,
yeah, it's going to be that kind of show. Excellent. Studs up. Producer Adam, you're in as Adam Redmond this week. Are you a real human this week? Is that it?
Yeah, when I realised we were going to start using clips from the show to plug Paul's column and Sean's excellent work as our analyst eye and stuff like that, and for all the rooting for summer rugby, I thought I better add a bit of professionalism to the occasion.
I thought it was Ben Franks.
Without the neck strength.
All right, lads. Good night. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
There's no way back from that, Adam.
So to help Mr. Redmond, we're going to get some physical presence joining the show very soon. Big Nick Williams is going to be joining us for a chat. We'll be talking later on about our favourite ever rugby jerseys. So in the live comments, let us know or drop us a tweet. We'll pick them up. Producer Adam will pick them up and flash them up on screen. We'll talk about them. Some housekeeping. The email address for the show is underthesticks@pro14rugby.org. So hit us up with anything you like. That is the end of housekeeping. How are we all doing? Paul, how was your week?
Really good. Super Rugby back. News that tennis could be back in Wales from Monday. And I look like I'm in a sort of Puff Daddy music video with this angle that you recommended. So yeah, feeling good.
There's a nice bit of depth there to it, isn't it?
No, yeah. It's like 90s, early 2000s hip hop video.
So Paul, I think the general Twitter rugby public have got some mileage out of the fact that you have a stringing room, but you actually do string tennis rackets.
Actual, really do string tennis rackets, yeah. Yeah, so I do it for sort of friends and family.
And if any tax professionals are watching, you do not do this for any money at all. It is just for love.
Correct.
So when somebody meets you and you go, like, they say, "Oh, hi, so what do you do?" "I'm a stringer."
I'm a stringer baby. We've got to put baby at the back. I'm a stringer baby. Yeah. And then they say string what? And then as soon as they say, and then they just switch off then because they get bored when they start talking about polyester strings.
Yeah, that's probably a fair reaction in my book. Sean, what was it like watching real rugby again?
Oh wow, it was great, wasn't it? It was quite odd because we were trying to have conversations and at the same time it was on in the background, so it took a bit of getting used to. But I think I had 4 devices on the go at any one time. But it was great, wasn't it? But some of the handling skills and the standard of rugby straight off the bat was great. And I don't know if you watched then, the game the next day. That was, that first half was unbelievable. So I mean, I'm really excited for this week. Just craved watching live sport. I mean, there's football on tonight, isn't there? So many people will be watching that just out of interest, even if they're not football fans but sport fans. We're just craving that. And Paul talks about tennis. Those people who listened to us on Saturday knew that I was going off to play golf straight after our podcast. Guess who won his tournament straight after?
This is gratuitous.
Bandit. Cheating, that is.
So I'm
Bandito.
back. Live sport is back. Local sport is back. I'm delighted.
We'll have to do an investigation into that tournament if it was an over 65s tournament or something.
It probably was the youngest, and they've chopped my handicap this week.
Oh god! Do you know what, Andy?
Right.
If we're going to talk about Super Rugby, we should get an expert in.
Yeah, let's bring in someone
got?
who's actually played Super Rugby. A very large part of any team he's ever been in. It's Nick Williams. How are you?
Hey boys, how we doing?
We're doing pretty well. I kind of want to give you a big bear hug right now. Is that it?
That's a good way to start anyway. It suits me.
Is,
I think it does suit me with the bear hug. I've been getting a bit of slack from the boys where they say, "Oh, you don't have to do the brand because you are the brand every time you give someone a coach." So, for now, it's great, mate. It's great.
So for anyone watching or listening who it doesn't know what you've got yourself involved in, it's sort of charcoal-based supports, and you're now a board member of this.
Mate, honestly, it sounds when they approached me, I literally, I don't know if I can say this, but I almost crapped my pants because I don't. I mean, obviously, Sean would know, like, footy players. The farthest thing from a corporate meeting room. So when they said to me, "Oh, Nick, would you like to jump on board being a non-executive director?" I'm like, well, probably these are three pretty hard words I don't really understand. But, so. But look, it was absolutely, it was great. It was just, all I did was I just sit in meetings. I say, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir. And then just, they just pick, I guess the thing where we meet in the middle is that they pick my brains with regard to, the rugby realm and probably use my network there. So it's a good and healthy relationship. And I've personally used Bear Hug for the last 4 years. When I first got to Cardiff, I had quite a decent tear on my calf, which kept me out for about 4 or 5 months. And Sean knows John Miles, our head physio at the time. He said, "Oh, mate, why don't you give these boys a crack?" So I've never looked back since then. And what's also good as well, I like to. You boys know I've been to a few places around the world, and these boys are young. They're a young Welsh upcoming company, and I like to delve myself into the culture wherever I am. So being able to help them it obviously helps them, but it probably it helps me as well to try and get my Welsh on. After all, I'm a Williams, so I might as well try and make the most of it.
Exactly.
So good, fit straight in. So listen, for anyone watching now, get your comments and questions, and Nick will pick the best towards the end of our chat with him, and then the winner will get some free bear hug stuff. But anyway, we were just talking about Super Rugby. How good was that to see Super Rugby back in front of real, actual crowds?
I'll tell you what, it was. I think it did the world of good. No matter what sport you watched. I mean, we're obviously quite lucky because we enjoy watching rugby. But I hear from blokes, in Russia and Kenya that probably haven't seen rugby before. But because it's live, it's just people forget the smaller things in life, and it was just amazing to see 50,000 people at Eden Park, and the lights again down in Otago. So it was extremely special. I personally was quite proud because obviously being a Kiwi, for Jacinda and what she's done, just to be able to get back to the just to showcase that to the world. But yeah, like you said, mate, I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, watching the rugby, supporting the boys. So it was just good to see, mate. It was just good to see, and it was good for everyone.
Mate, I was watching the first game, the build-up, because we did this sort of podcast with the game on in the background, right?
Yeah.
And Marshy and Jeff Wilson were on. They threw to them on the sideline, and Marshy got a little bit emotional, mate. He said, "This is a proud moment for New Zealanders. We've got to this stage. We're staging this with big crowds and live sport." And for somebody like him and Jeff, who obviously have graced the field and All Blacks. It did feel like that, and it came across to the viewers. So did you feel like that watching it?
Yeah, I thought it was very powerful because if we're honest, none of us have been in this situation before. So no one knows how to get out of it. But for them to be able to, I guess, be the first people to obviously not have live sport, but like a live crowd as well within that realm is extra special. So the boys were. I could actually feel it from Goldie and just and Lashley as well. So big boys on the field, but when it comes down to those things, they get really emotional about it.
It was a funny thing, Nick, because during the game I had to move from our kitchen because the little fellas got up and it's their house really. Then I moved upstairs to the room, plugged back into the lads, and as I was walking by, the game was on, and my wife heard it, and she was just hearing the sound of a normal game, and she stopped, like she literally stopped and said, "God, that sounds really good," because just to hear something that was normal. We've missed what normal sounds like.
100%. I've got a house full of women, so I've got 3 daughters, and so there's more E channel than the rugby channel in my house. So for them to encourage me and get up with me and watch the game as well, it just goes to show how much we as a people have missed normality, but definitely missed rugby and the crowds and the camaraderie that it brings as a whole.
Right. First question in from Leslie Crimble. What is harder, being a wrecking ball on a rugby pitch or homeschooling your kids?
Oh, wow. That's a good one. I'd probably have to say the homeschooling. Homeschooling has been a big challenge, but it has come, it's taught me to be a lot more patient, in life, because obviously on the rugby field, you can be patient to an extent, but then when the ref's not looking, you can say hello in a different way. I'm pretty sure Sean knows what I mean.
Mate, you remind me so much of Philo. You do. Everywhere you've been, you've added to the culture. You've been outstanding as a player and as a leader. Tried to sign me once at the Ospreys. You'll know that we had a real good look at you on it. But there's a lot of similarities there. I have a huge affection for Philo, as you know, and mate, it's just great that you embrace everywhere that you go. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the field. I always watch you closely because you got an eye for a turnover. God, you must have been loving those penalties in the Super Rugby last weekend.
They say it's going to encourage a flowing game. I'm thinking, it's literally doing the opposite. But I tell you what, the big boys up front, they're not complaining. Every time they get a bit of a 10-second breather, they'll be grateful for it. So I was actually quite lucky on that, Sean, that I probably come in a year after Philo finished. So I've knocked a few heads around, and thank goodness I haven't knocked into his head, because
you don't knock it in.
Yeah.
Jesus, imagine those two running into each other.
I know.
I saw, weirdly, I spoke to a Kiwi journalist on the weekend, anecdotally, and he was saying that the players, when they come off the field on the weekend, remarked that they felt a little bit fresher and not so bumped and bruised because the breakdowns were a lot quicker. So they weren't having to park over the top and take like big knocks from locks and whatever it might be. So do you think that could be one of the benefits from that? Because you don't have to stand there quite so long, because it gets either it's gone or it gets whistled. So you don't have to stand there, like Sam Warburton, for instance, you've played with, him standing over that ball, taking like 2 or 3 clean outs on the neck. That could be one of the benefits, I suppose.
It depends how you look at it. It can be a benefit in regards to a flowing game, but then if that's how they're going to ref it, it'd probably take the likes out of Warby and Ellis and Nabs, who even Tips, who are unbelievable over the ball. And let's be honest, they're probably 4 of the best in the world. So if you were to take that part of their game away, is it fair? I don't know the answer, but from a spectator's point of view, it is brilliant. But these are how these boys have made their careers on, is by the dark arts. Getting into places where scientifically your body shouldn't be. So it's a hard question. I don't know. Like everybody sees that it's a teething phase at the moment. They don't know whether it's going to stay or whether it's going to go. So I think they've got to meet somewhere in the middle, because yes, you could say it benefits the Kiwis and the Aussies to an extent, because they obviously want to play a flowing game. But with the defensive structures of the English game, that's what they base it on, and if you're talking about fairness, where's the fine line? If you're asking me, I couldn't give you a definitive answer.
I'm gonna have a good look at last week before we do Saturday's game, because I tell you what, Nick, you'll know this. Me and you, players and coaches will work it out. They'll work out how the trends of the refs. They'll know. And at the end of the day, if Nick's on the field, Paul, right, and there's daylight or they're late arriving to the ball carrier, he's going to sniff that turnover, no matter what the laws are or how they referee. And I was really interested to see that a lot of the penalties were for that, whether the attacking team were a bit slow getting there or thinking, well, it's going to be refed harder because the tackler's got to roll away. Those guys who got to sniff for it, they'll go there no matter what. If they've got no chance of winning it, they'll leave it and get back in the defensive line. So I'd be interested to see, because as Nick rightly says, Josh Navidi, Tibbs himself, people like that, they know when they can make a difference. If they can get it, but there's nothing stopping them.
So I'll come in here on that one, because there was a lot of penalties given at the weekend for holding on.
Yeah.
And it's part of the new, one of those 3 rules that they've asked the refs to concentrate on in Super Rugby Aotearoa is that the ball carrier can only make one movement. So they have to decide to do one thing. And that thing ain't going to be holding on to the ball. So there was a couple of penalties given for what maybe referees would have let go a beat longer while your jackal's in there. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting, because one of the things we always ask for is consistency. So Nick, that would drive you crazy if next weekend they rev it in a different way than the weekend after they ref it in a different way again. So as we watch more games, we'll see.
No, sorry. I tell you what, they probably will ref it totally different. It's just how, the refs themselves, we all know that they're not bulletproof, even though some think they are. But it's just how they're going to interpret. And just like yourself and Sean said, they'll, one week will be different, one week will be another. They'll probably change it again in 6 months. So it's just a matter of finding that marker in the middle that suits, not just one team but all teams.
Can I'm going to ask a question that I got on Twitter when we knew you were coming in. Right, it's from Gav Sadlier. He's got 2. I'm going to ask the first one first, and then we'll circle around to the next one, because it definitely relates to Paul. What was the difference in style and mentality between Munster and Ulster? Like, was there anything that stood out between those 2 camps?
Secrets. Can't give secrets.
Who's listening here? Who's listening? I'm trying to see. That is a good one. I guess probably a big factor was myself. I'd come over from New Zealand. I was quite young, quite naive. I was injured at the time, and Munster, full of huge personalities, the O'Connells, the O'Garas, the Flannerys, blah, blah, blah. And I probably didn't buy into the culture as I should have, which is what I've been learning since then. And I guess with the 2 cities, as in Cork and Limerick, the hour and a half between, for some reason I couldn't get used to it. It was a weird setup for me. And then,
where were you based? Where were you based when you were there?
All of us Kiwis are based in Cork, so obviously Tomans and Limerick. So it was a unique situation, and obviously it's worked for them for so many years, which is why they kept a hold of it. I think until the last 2-3 years, where everybody's based in Limerick now. So that was something I couldn't adjust to, and I was injured. I left New Zealand after having a shoulder operation, and I redid it when I was there. So, there was a few personal things that I struggled with there. And then, like everyone, you grow up and you live life, and you learn your lessons. And I was blessed to get approached by Ulster. My first professional rugby coach, Mark Anscombe, I was going to go back to New Zealand, and he said, "Mate, bring your big Polynesian butt up here." So I went up to Ulster, and to this day, I can honestly say that I probably played some of my best rugby when I was up in Belfast, and I guess half the reason was probably Mark, because he obviously knew how I clicked, and he knew that family's everything to me, and he's him and his wife are like grandparents to my kids. So that was the big benefactor of that, and and I was just grateful to have donned both the Munster and the Ulster jerseys.
You seemed to be a player with a lot more focus at Ulster. Like when you were on the pitch, you seemed much more driven. Now that's just how it seemed from many miles away or in the stands.
I was just happy, Andy. I was just, like I said, you boys know, happy wife, happy life. That's the true gist of it. And I just, something just clicked. I don't know what it is, but something just really clicked with myself. And I'm not saying that, I still got good relationships with the boys down in Cork and Limerick. I still, still chat to the boys every now and then. And yeah, just for some reason, something clicked up in Ulster. And I'd probably say a lot of that is earnest to Mark Anscombe for bringing me back down to earth and giving me a kick up the backside and telling me to pull fingers. So, yeah.
There's lots of things.
Sorry, you go, Sean, and then I'm going to bring in.
Just saying that you got to realise there's lots of things for just your local player, let alone an overseas player. There's lots of things that that you have to take into account. Little things become big things, don't they, Nick? For your family, it might mean nothing to us in our day-to-day work, or if I'm like when I was coaching the Ospreys, it's 6 miles to the training ground. No wonder I stayed there for nearly 10 years. It was bloody easy. So, but there's never a wife or family problem. All my mates are fans, they're season ticket holders. But then when you travel anywhere, there's huge issues that and lots play factors. And of course, for those guys, for someone like Nick, he has to be 100%. He has to be focused, not just in training, for games. This on the big stage. He's got to provide for his family. He has to produce. So it's very hard. It's understandable. And if you get an environment where somebody or something clicks, well, happy days.
Yeah, 100%, Sean. That's the word. The environment was just fitted me. The boys let me play. They let me express myself. I wasn't told to clean 100 rucks. I was told to run the ball 100 times, which is, you guys know, which is my game. So, and again, Mark, he knew how I played, and they gave me, I wouldn't say the freedom, they just gave me the permission to do it more often than I was.
Get out there on the floor, Nick, for God's sake.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't encourage it to the young kids. I got to apologise in advance every time.
And seeing him in full flow, because I go to watch the Blues quite a lot, even when I'm not working. And you don't realise how big Nick is until he's like a van in a t-shirt. So when you see him moving forward with the ball, it's unbelievable. And it's weird with Cardiff Blues. They've had 2 of the best carriers I've ever seen. So you and Xavier Rush, and both number 8 who were allowed to just carry flat out virtually. I think Xavier was almost the same. He was given freedom. You're going to clean out, like you say, 200 rucks. Just be there waiting to mangle someone in the 12th channel. Yeah, I mean, the one question I was very keen to ask you, obviously, you're a Class 8. Kieran Reid is now leaving the Kiwi system. So what do you think they're going to do now? So are they going to bring in a specialist new young number 8? Or do you think they might persevere maybe with trying Ardie Savea there at 8 as they have done? Or is there anyone you've seen that you think that's the next Kieran Reid?
Oh, you guys see you see Waisake Satutu's son?
Yeah.
Blues 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh,
Wow.
No.
I thought he was a winger.
Mate,
No.
I got scared watching him.
Yeah.
Mate,
He's different class, isn't he?
Oh, he's just, I've still got relationships with people back in New Zealand, and they told me 2-3 years ago, they're like, bro, you got to watch this space. This guy's a freak, in the most respective way. He just said because obviously, Waisake was a winger, and they said, yeah, he's got the pace of his father, but he's in the back row. So like, if Foster don't want to look too far, he'd probably be the next thing coming, because obviously him keeping Akita out is a huge job, So I think initially, Ian will probably stick with Ardie, because Ardie's got that pedigree. But if they're looking for some raw talent that's keen to listen, because we all know the Fijian boys, they sit there and they say yes, yes, yes. They just want to listen. I don't think they have to look too far. So we just like Sean will know, like as a Kiwi, you know, he's been surrounded a lot of Kiwis. We're just blessed with a conveyor belt of talent. And I don't know if you saw the clip of Eddie Jones, but he said it perfectly with the three biggest academies, you know, in Samoa and Fiji. And as a Samoan, you got to admit it. As a Samoan myself, I said, yes, it's absolutely right. It's absolutely right. So, look, it's if you're looking for out and out 8, you know, I'd probably go with Artie, and you know, Hoskins not too far behind him.
Right. Next question. This comes from Big Dermo on Twitter. What's Nick's go-to choice in Nando's?
Oof.
Oh, I haven't it. Oh,
This is a good question.
See, that's a hard one because my
It's more
daughter's
than one chicken. It's more than one chicken. I know that for a fact.
Every time we go to Cardiff Bay, you'll know Sean and Paul, there's a Wagamama's next to the Nando's.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
And my daughters love the chicken from Wagamama's because it's not spicy. So I always have to go into Wagamama's. What's my go-to Nando's? Oh, the wings. They got there's a 24 chicken wings or something.
There
or
it
12
is.
chicken wings. Yeah.
Nice.
I was dreaming about it last night.
Nick's going for a little starter in Wagamama's. Maybe
That's what I was.
squid with
Yeah.
it. And then we'll whack in the wing.
Oh, no, that was the starter. Sorry, did I get there wrong?
3 high protein meals. 1 in Wagamama's, 1 in Nando's, and then into the yard then, just to finish off with some ribs.
Yeah.
Right. Next one. This is a great one. Loads of people would have seen this, but James Broderick asked, how was the surprise visit of your mum that the Blues arranged? So like this, for anyone who didn't see this looked insane.
Yeah, it was fair play to my wife and Richard Hodges, our defensive coach. They planned it. I think it was about 2-3 months of planning, and I literally had no idea. But obviously, you look back in hindsight, and there's certain things that my wife was doing that I didn't actually. I was thinking, I didn't think anything of it. But then you look back at it, and you're like, oh, okay, that does make sense. Because my wife's not a morning person. And should be getting up every morning to check her messages because obviously the time difference with New Zealand. So, but yeah, the morning I got up to get to work 6:45, and my wife was already up at 6, saying that she had to do some stuff for work. And then I think she had to ring Mark Anscombe, who they just live up the road here from us, and she had to ask them to collect my mum from Cardiff Airports. And then, we went to training, and again, you don't understand things until you look back at it. And that week, Gavin Cooper, our manager, he said, we have to change the week around because one of the meetings. So, I turned up at the meeting, and, I saw the clip of Mum, and I don't care how hard you are, boys. Once you see your mother, your other side of the world, there's a few, there's a bit of dust in the air. So, that happened, and then when Marvis said, this is your present, I turned around and saw her. Yeah, I think everybody's seen the video, and it was a tough one, but it's probably one of the most special moments that I've had in my rugby career, and one that I always cherish, especially to the Blues and Welsh rugby.
Brilliant.
It was great, fantastic moment. We've had a question through here. Which media team has Nick enjoyed working with the most? From Mike Brown of Cardiff Blue.
From Mike Brown, yeah.
We're not having that. This is propaganda at its worst.
It's definitely not you, Mike.
There we are.
Excellent. Proper order. So is a proper question from Dan Hadley, and I'd like you to be open. You're just talking to us here, Nick. Nick, who did you enjoy running over the most?
That's great.
Farrell Jr.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was a good old time.
Did you go back and just do it again to make sure?
What did I do? No, I laughed at him. I picked him up and then I laughed at him. What happened? Yeah, it was a guy. It was a quarterfinal at Ulster. It was, yeah. Fairness to him, I picked him up and laughed at him. And then the year after, we played them again, where Joe Payne got red carded in the first 2 minutes, And fair play, he didn't go high at the time. He went straight to my shoelaces and got me. So I went back and picked him up, and I said, "Oh, well done, bro. Well done."
Love it. And now, before you go, right, I need to bring in Paul. Oh, sorry, hold on. Second last question. Caroline Garnett, what did it mean to you when you were picked for the Junior All Blacks?
Yeah, extremely special. I mean, people don't know that the Junior All Blacks is known as the New Zealand B team, like the equivalent of the Wolfhounds, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's literally one step away from the All Blacks, and it's a huge honour because you know that you're almost there or thereabouts. But then what people don't know is that one step is huge. So that was it was a blessing. Obviously, every team you get picked for is a blessing. And I'll always be grateful to have played because I obviously wanted to be an All Black, and to be one step away, it's great, but then I guess later on in life, my brother decided to play for Samoa. So, he asked me, he's like, "Oh, bro, would you have played for Samoa if you knew I was going to play for Samoa?" And I said to him, "Mate, I made the decisions because I didn't know that you were going to play for Samoa. And I guess if I look back at it now, I probably wouldn't have changed anything. I would have just stayed as playing for Junior All Black. But, you always have special times we get to play with family or against family. But these are decisions as a rugby player you boys know that you just have to live with. But the answer to a question, it was absolutely awesome. Doing the haka and, singing the Samoan anthem, which us boys, so us Samoan boys in the New Zealand team, we were singing the Samoan anthem, and then to have to do the haka to our people was it was pretty heartbreaking, to be honest. Very heartbreaking, especially the anthem, because I could see my family, their first language is Samoan, and them singing the anthem and then struggling with the New Zealand anthem was a bit, that was a bit sad. But no, it was an honour in itself.
I'm going to ask Paul here. So, Paul, who's Nick's brother?
Oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Well, because I'm Paul Williams. I love Super Rugby. I'm always tweeting about Super Rugby. I love Super Rugby. And I'm doing a bit of work with Nick this week. And for some reason, I didn't know he was Tim Nana Williams' brother. And they're two of my favourite players. So I phoned Nick Saturday morning or whatever it was. And I said, I've just found out you're Nana Williams' brother. And he went, "Oh, yeah, mate." I was like, "Well, how didn't I know something so ridiculous as that?" And then I found out he's Sonny Bill Williams' cousin. So it's been really embarrassing.
There's a clue here, mate.
I know.
Yeah.
But I have done what I'll say this very
not getting the
quickly.
clue right, Paul, mate.
I know, and until the age of 29, right? I thought the word pants, as in underpants, was spelt Panse. Right? That's not a joke. So this is now on top of that as one of the most embarrassing linguistic things I've ever been involved in.
This is why I love Paul being on the pod. Because I would have never have learned anything about the word Panse. I didn't even know it existed.
It doesn't. It's just in my brain.
Still doesn't.
Yeah. There we go. Really embarrassing.
Right. Okay. We're going to let Nick go. But before you go, okay, what's the question of all those that sticks in your mind? Which is the one you like the best?
Running over Junior.
There we go.
Running over Junior. I might as well keep it real. Running over Junior.
Okay.
We probably need the beer hug after that as well. So
Dan Hadley.
Nice.
Hadley. I think our producer Adam will get in touch, and you'll get some gear from Bear Hug. So yes, Bear Hug, if you're wondering what they are, they're the orange muscle sleeves and joint supports. They use bamboo in the makeup of their supports, and this difference in composition can increase blood flow and dramatically reduce rehabilitation and recovery periods while enhancing performance.
Good
Visit
God, I need some of them.
Josh
get at
Levine.
bearhug.com.
Josh Levine uses them as well.
He does.
They're really popular.
I need some after my run this evening. It didn't go well.
I need some for my ego after getting the brother thing wrong.
Good to see you, Nick boy. You take care, right? Can't wait to see you back.
Boys. Thank you for having me on.
You're a gentleman, Nick. Thanks.
All the best, lads. Ta-ra.
Ta-ra, Nick.
See you, buddy. That was good. I like that.
Do you know a quick story? It's not an EDF story. to get my rider in.
Get it in.
You know what he says? You know what Nick says about the number 8 and the next off the ramp answering Paul's question. When Philo Tia was over, he said to us, "There's this young kid who really good. He's a specimen. You should have a look at him." Yeah, okay. Never really looked at him. There's this young kid you should really. I think he's going to be something special. The board didn't look at him. We didn't look at him. Turned out to be Sonny Bill Williams.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
Philo knew at 16. He knew when he was 16, 17. Can you imagine picking him up at 17?
And what was he? What would Sonny Bill have been playing at the time? Was he playing league at the time?
Playing everything. I don't know, playing
Yeah.
murder. I don't know, but he. Can you imagine picking him up?
Who didn't sign the Beatles?
I wouldn't be doing the Under the Sticks podcast right now. I tell you, if we had that Sonny Bill 17.
Do you know what the real
Oh.
tragedy is? If you got him over early enough, he'd have been playing for Wales. You fellas
Yeah.
would have won the World Cup by now.
I don't
Right.
want to talk about this anymore.
That's it. I'm going now. That's the end of that.
Yeah.
Holly would have been
Oh.
the Sir Alex Ferguson of rugby.
He would have been.
Oh,
Coaching the
woman,
80s.
anything with kids.
that's it.
Do you know the other thing that's amazing? You know, chatting to Nick now, but I am a Kiwi sycophant, and I make no apology. You think of the just the number 8 we've had in Wales who didn't, get to 20 caps for the All Blacks. So Tia, Xavier Rush, and Nick, and that's just in Wales. You think of the quality of players that they have. They're the 3 best number 8s I think I've seen play in Wales, probably. Chuck Scott Quinnell in there and now Faletau. But you'd say those 3 are right up there, aren't they? They're the best 3 to play in regional rugby.
Oh, I was a
Yeah.
big fan of Rush. Rush, just
Oh,
quality,
Xavier
quality
Rush.
player. Yeah.
And the same type of player as Nick Williams, just carry the guts out of it and smash you in the tackle. And
I
frightening.
was really interested in what he when he was saying there about suiting up for the Junior All Blacks.
Yeah,
that internal kind of struggle between what's in you and what is the best thing for you.
yes,
Yeah.
And that's something which it's probably harder for guys who grow up in Cardiff or Dublin or Limerick or Edinburgh to understand, because they will rarely have that quandary.
yeah. But it's, like Nick is saying, and like Eddie Jones was sort of mocking, that is how that is set up.
Yeah.
And it's,
It is.
that's just how it is. So it's,
And
Well-
speaking from a coach's point of view, you have to learn, and then you have to understand their culture. So it's not very well having Jerry Collins or Nick Williams at the Blues, but you have to understand. You can see how much family means to him, can you?
Mhm.
And Samoan people are very much like that. So if you don't understand that and grasp that, then you're not going to get the best out of your player. So it's really important. And then Tongans slightly different. Fijians, as Nick mentioned, slightly different again. And they're very subservient to the hierarchy of other players and players' fathers and uncles in their culture. Like I've said before, Jerry Collins was very subservient to Philo because Philo's dad was deemed of a higher stature in their homeland than Jerry's.
Do you mean like a sort of a respect for
That's it.
elders?
Yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely respectful.
Yeah.
well,
But I think that's. I mean, it's very telling how he said, okay, he said happy wife, happy life for his Ulster career, but he also talked specifically about how he felt Mark Anscombe got the best out of him because Mark
Yes.
Anscombe understood him, right?
Mm.
And this is where I'm just going to link and say, everyone who's watching, if you've got a bit of spare time, I'm going to put all the audio. We're going to put all the audio up in a few weeks of all the coach interviews that Sean's doing. They're really nice, really good chats. But the videos are all up on YouTube. And you spoke to Michael Bradley last week. And Bradley at Zebra said, or Sean said to him, look, you've been to Georgia, you've been to Romania, you've been to Scotland, Ireland, you've been all these places. And his question is like, how do you approach different cultures? And very much like if we draw a comparison to what Mark Anscombe seems to have done with Nick, Michael Bradley says, well, you don't go in and say, hey, these are my rules, this is how you play. this is what we're doing. No, you go in and you figure out the dressing room, you figure out the culture, you figure out the people, and you work with them and you try and make it all come together in harmony of what you want to do. But if you're trying to approach them in a way that's counterculture, you're going to get absolutely nowhere.
And you know, and I don't think most supporters appreciate that. That's what's great about having Sean on here, is that we always just assume, oh, you get 23, whop-ass players, you just stick them on the field and they just do stuff. But of course, that isn't how it works, is it? It's like running any business. They have to be happy. And, I don't think anyone ever thinks about team environments when you're a supporter. You pay lip service to it, but you don't really appreciate getting the best out of players.
But you know what? You do when you're working in a company in your everyday job. And
yes, you do.
Go, Jesus, you come home and you're going, geez, your man over there, I could live without him. He's wrecked my head again today.
Exactly.
It's exactly the same.
It's exactly the same thing.
Exactly. It's exactly the same. He is. If there's someone there who is meaning that you are not as happy, you are focusing on something else than just doing your job and being, I don't know, decent and focused and driven. It could be the same thing in your home life. It could be, in the current environment, there could be anything going on that could take someone away from just doing your job, and you don't know what it might be. But I was really struck by when I was going for, you seemed a bit more focused and driven when you were at Ulster. There was no talk about coaching environment.
No,
not much talk about, I might have, got a bit sort of sharper with my training, whatever. It's like, no, I was happy.
Just happy. And you look at the players and big moves that haven't worked, without going into too much detail. A lot of them have been where families haven't been happy on big moves. Especially a lot of Welsh players who've moved to Toulon, and that hasn't quite worked out. They haven't got on. They haven't, gelled with, because that's quite a family environment, from what I can understand. So I know a couple of. It's fascinating, different element that you just don't think of as a supporter.
There's a human element to it, boys. Just coming on the show, before we go on the show, whenever Adam rings me, he says, "Hi, Sean, how you doing? What have you been doing today?" It's not straight down to business. The first thing Andy introduces you and I on, Paul, he says, "Sean, how are you?
Yeah.
What have you been up to?" Well, and then that allows me to talk about myself and, feel a little bit better. I'm introduced comfortably. It's no different in the workplace. I always say to people when I go in to speak to businesses or the similarities of sport and industry or whatever it is, do you know your workmate that sits over there, like Andy says, do you know their wife's name? Do you know how many kids they got? Do you know what their favorite pastime is? What they did last weekend? The chances are, particularly bosses and that, they don't know. So how are you going to get the best out of your people? There's a human element to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
big time.
No, I completely agree, because you've got to. It's when you hear the players who speak about the family environments and the things, and you will hear lots of different stories around clubs, and they don't try and advertise it, but they have an approach for players' families, and they have an approach to make sure that they match up when a Nick Williams arrives in your environment. There's players that pair them up with. There's people within the club that they pair them up with to bring them around, to show them where's the best coffee shop.
Yeah.
Have you got through, right? So Nick's got lots of little girls. There'll be someone who'll say, right, you got lots of little girls. These are the places that are good to go. Because if you've got boys, it could be a little bit more straightforward. Or whatever the different dynamics of your family, your personal life are. Because if you're a rugby player, you turn up a club and you got two little boys, chuck them down the local rugby club or whatever. I'm not saying you don't do that with your daughters if they're into sport and whatever way you want them to be, but it's the answer to every question is what the clubs are trying to put there for these guys, because they're investing, they're putting them in there, and as we've all, it's not exactly rocket science, but happy people make happy players, happy employees, and one of the reasons is, I would say during lockdown, this podcast has definitely given us all an outlet and grown. It's not a professionalism. There's an element of friendship here between the four of us. Which
and it's made me lose weight looking at.
No.
And it's making me look at with the Joe Wicks of Port Talbot there in the corner, dropping 3 kgs a week. He's got me on the exercise bike.
Good. That's brilliant.
So it's giving me a bit of a boot up the ass.
I still got a bit of the old magic. That's great.
Good
No,
man.
do you know what I don't? Well, first of all, there's testament to one thing. Holly is the jock on this show and always will be. But second of all, you've been off, Paul. You've been off the booze a little bit. Like, you know, I'd be really depressed if I was off the booze. And then on the other side, I've got Holly like working out all the rest. of
But I
the
did
booze.
have a beer tonight. I did have a beer.
You had your
Okay,
lady beer.
I'm
He's on the
I'm balancing up Sean.
Here we go.
and Paul, right.
He's on the Rabsy Nesbitt.
Yeah.
And they have not paid for that product placement. If you could just turn the bottle the other way around, please.
I didn't mention a word. Last week it was Lagavulin 16. This week it's Jameson Crested. And lads, you can send me bottles if you want to support the show, right?
Got to make it work for you, Andy. You got to make it work.
Can you flash up
Lorcan Murphy? I'm not gonna put his comment up on the screen. But let's talk about rugby and not lick each other's asses anymore.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, don't say that, for God's sake.
Right, Super Rugby. So, for anyone out there who got involved in the watch along last week for Super Rugby, Aotearoa going again,
Nice,
like a pro. Week 1, we watched Highlanders 28, Chiefs 27, and there were 28 penalties in the game because that's obviously a talking point. But thank you very much if you did sign up and just dive in for a couple of minutes, whatever it was. We genuinely didn't know how it was going to go. I don't know. I had good fun. I think we all did. Lads, it was genuinely good to see this back. Like when you're thinking back and watching the, I went and watched the Blues Hurricanes game and the repeat the next day. Man, there was some good rugby at the same time.
Ooh,
amazing.
It was good rugby. Some of the handling and everything, we all sort of stopped in our tracks as we were talking. The first handling movement that went along at pace, you were like, oh, this is what we've missed. And I think it probably, in a funny sort of way, because I watched so much rugby, on my sort of pecking order, Super Rugby had probably gone down a little bit on the ladder. Obviously, Guinness Pro 14 right at the top, but you know, it made me realize. So now, even though I would watch highlights, or if I'd watch a game back, if I'm writing an article, or I want to watch a player or a team, I thought, hang on now, I like the look of this again. And the next day, as you say, the Blues Hurricanes was like first half. Oh my God, at the level.
That first half was outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, I think my favorite thing from that Blues game, I wrote it about in the column this week, is because it was all about Bowden Barrett at 15, rightly so. But then, of course, when you're always focused on him coming down the channel, you're not looking at everyone else. And Enrico Ioane had quite a lot of space and just went crazy in the middle. Then you've got Caleb Clark, you've got Talia. You know, that 13 channel now, you've got problems all around you. If you're trying to defend there.
Was it me on Sunday? There were a couple of slightly different camera angles going on. It just looked a little bit like being in the coaching box a little bit, you know. There was some, whether it was just Eden Park or what, I don't know. But, you know, I'm really looking forward to this weekend. We just had Andrew Swain come back. Enjoyed it, fellas. Good to get a northern opinion. Keep it up. So we got somebody appreciating us out there.
We take it.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of people actually did enjoy. And the one thing I'll say is that the people who tuned in at the start stayed with us. They were all engaging and interacting with us. And we've had a couple of people, you know, a couple of rugby Twitter heads, which are our type of people, who will try and plug into this show because, look, we're live, we're ready. We can actually get 6 screens in here at one time if we want. So
can we?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, we can. So we'll see what Saturday morning. And think about it. 6 screens, and I can be off screen as well. So that's 6 people who know what they're talking about.
We'll get Swaney on. He's he can give us an insight into the Aussie stuff coming up as well.
I'll tell you what, though.
We'll be watching.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Jenkins. And we got a few people who took the time afterwards to say they enjoyed it. So thank you, because genuinely, we had no script. There was no plan. We just said, lads, let's give this a roll, because we were all just genuinely so excited for this to be back. So week 2, Chiefs Blues is on Saturday morning at the very, very nice time of 8 o'clock or so, and they're doing that, which I'm a big fan of them doing the half-hour build-up straight from the New Zealand TV feed.
Yeah,
Love that.
me too.
Yeah.
Get a local feel for it. It's great,
Yeah.
including loads of words that I don't know what they mean. Genuinely, not a
Tin.
clue.
Tin.
I
I
love the
learned is
Kiwi accent.
10. Tin is
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
I worked
Well,
out
things
when
like
there were a load of them.
Yeah, I must say the one thing that I enjoyed the most over the weekend was Dane Coles. And Paul writes extensively. Go to pro14.rugby. Check out Paul's column. It's back by popular demand, I might add. But Paul's written extensively on Dane Coles, and he promises to do so every week. I just loved the finish for the try. Front rower, one-handed, dab it
He's
down.
ridiculous.
Loved that. But I just loved there's Bodie. Let's give him a little rub. And all the boys come in. And I just thought, like, could you imagine, like, in other sports if that happened? The amount of
listen,
pushing,
never mind.
shoving and
Never mind other sports. I can imagine other teams where that mightn't have been taken so well. I thought Bowden took it like an absolute champion and in the very best way. He said, lads, grand, bring me in. We've been asking for it. Have you seen
better?
Have you seen another clip where they both have a little bit of a chop off each other? Have you?
Oh yeah, that's brilliant. Look,
that's very good.
Sky Sports New Zealand, who I'm very happy to plug because they also show live Pro 14. There's Pro 14 down in New Zealand. They're our friends, Sky New Zealand. Love it. They did player cam on Bowden Barrett, and that's why you got that tracking shot of him going across and seeing Dane Coles get the ball and go, I'll probably let him score. Yeah, because that was. Look, I'm not saying I expect fullbacks to do a lot. When they're the last man.
He did pretty well, though, to be fair. He nearly got it.
I'm sorry.
He almost concussed himself.
That's your bad technique.
There's only one way to do that. He needed to plow. He needed to launch himself, jump fully on him, reasonably high, and take him into touch. There's no way he was going to get down. He bumped him off, Coles, as he did.
Yeah.
But, Sean, I'll be your. When you go back into coaching, I'll be your assistant. I'll be the gnarly one.
Are you sacking me already? I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
I said I'll be your assistant. We're on the same wavelength.
First live sacking, sponsored by
compromise agreement.
Yes.
I'll put it to you this way: if you can't get a better offer in coaching than this podcast.
So I'm expecting the next banner across the screen to see Pro 14 board offers Holly full support.
Exactly. Yeah.
Holly takes head of communication again his Pro 14 role as Redmond is axed.
Holly has a full backing.
That's exactly my thought on the Barrett thing. It was just like, look, the touch line is there. You've got the opportunity to run a full pelt. No one expects you to make this tackle. So just go above the waist. Just throw yourself. And exactly, he said, look, yeah, he could have given himself a cushion. Better to, if you're going to put yourself at risk, at least get the guy into touch.
But I think if you look at the behind the goal line angle, Coles gets down so early.
Super low, yeah.
So early. It was going to be really, really hard for anyone to get there. I mean,
Again,
read
all about it in his column. Read all about it in his column. He goes extensive detail.
It's...
All right, then. All right, here's one.
It's 5 minutes to go. That's very good.
5 minutes to go.
Read Paul's column, that's why.
I have.
It's 5 minutes to go in a World Cup final, and that scenario happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does he do?
Do it differently, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we might be being harsh on Barrett here, but
I think you'd need a small shotgun to take out Coles going that low.
I think it's more about how good, I think everyone's a little bit worried that Dane Coles would have lost a bit of pace. He hasn't at all. No. He's still the best hooker in the world as far as I'm concerned. I know George is up there, but, the thing with Dane Coles, he does all that stuff that a lot of other hookers do, and then people say, the line-up throwing isn't stable and the scrum engine isn't good enough. That's not the case with that boy. He does everything well, and that stuff isn't like an optional extra. It's just part of who he is. I think he's amazing.
Do you remember what I was saying about the catch and pass on Saturday?
Yes.
Remember I was saying he didn't have to break stride.
That's right.
And that split second from the great catch and pass that he got, that makes a difference on Bowden's ability to tackle him then, So That's what they got. That's the difference.
So we got
Can I
Chiefs,
wrap up?
Blues. Go on.
I was going to say I can easily wrap up our whole segment here about positive feedback, camera angles, and amazing skills by just throwing up last week's clip of Bill Mata, right?
Great
I could
camera
watch
work.
this all day. Look at that.
Yeah.
Tic
And
tac.
for our audio
Gone.
listeners, this is the Bill Mata offload against Glasgow there, just one of the Christmas derbies to Darcy Graham to just stroll on in. But just the exceptional hands. But I was contacted on LinkedIn by one of the camera operators who works on the games at BT Murrayfield, and very appreciative that we noticed, you know, the work that goes on to capture those moments and stuff like that. So we'll pat ourselves on the back, but like, you know, we can only big up this stuff because people do the good work. So,
I see
keep it going.
Adam uses the royal we now. It's good. This is the style to which you've become accustomed in lockdown. So 2 games this weekend: Chiefs Blues on Saturday, Hurricanes, and the first appearance of Crusaders. And as we said last week, these are the teams where if you want the baddies, they're going to be your baddies for this season. Gers 1987. The crowd in Eden Park was epic. It felt quite emotional. Was brilliant. It felt emotional from half a world away.
Yeah,
it was
amazing.
It was just brilliant.
I don't know who pointed it out on Twitter, but somebody was like, here's the best moment of Super Rugby this weekend. And it was one of the Highlanders players being interviewed. And you know how all the fans went out onto the pitch afterwards? And he's being interviewed, and there's 2 boys in the background approach each other. Hey, mate, how you doing? And they smash pints, and then they go for it was just the buoyancy of the atmosphere, the celebration, just the happiness, the joy that was exploding out of the screen.
I want that. I cannot wait until a very simple thing. I don't care about getting to the pub. Honestly, I don't know. 41 now. If you told me the pubs were not going to be there, I could live with that. You know what? I genuinely could.
Steady on now, Andy. We'll talk about.
I want to get to a game. I want to get to a game
yourself.
with friends. I want to sit in a stand and say, "How are you?" and enjoy a game of rugby. And that just showed me what I've been missing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I immediately retract the pub comment. God, I need the pubs.
I know. I was going to say.
Yeah, spoke too soon. And what's your favorite jersey? Right, we have some good candidates here, and this is something which Adam put to us because of the really good work that the Toyota Cheetahs are doing right now. In well, Adam, what are the Cheetahs doing right now with their changed jersey for next season?
So Cheetahs have put out publicly. They've put out 6 different alternatives for their Canterbury away jersey for the Guinness Pro 14 season for 2021. And I think they've definitely caught the imagination. And I don't know if this is breaking news, but there'll actually be a 7th option that's going up tomorrow. But for anybody who's listening on the podcast, check out the Under the Sticks Twitter feed. We'll put all 6 up there for you to have a look at. I'm going to pop all 6 up here for those who are watching. And
wow,
you'd be hard pressed to turn down any of those choices. But I
like them all.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool. So
I could live with most of those. Yeah.
I think the one that the leopard, the pure cheetah print one is probably the one I'd step back from the most, just because it looks like, a scarf I've seen my mother wear too many times.
I've got a scarf exactly like that. See, that's the one I'd run towards headlong. I love that one. That's my favorite one.
I've seen some very fetching. The honeycomb one on the bottom right is, I do like that. And then the one, the bottom middle, there's something about that
There's something about the bottom middle. What is the landscape, Adam? Do you know?
So that's basically Free State in a silhouette.
That's mine. That's my one then.
It's a windmill. It's Highveld. It's the Toyota Stadium.
Like it.
Silhouette and a few trees. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like the bottom far left, which is the grey and orange diagonals. I think that's pretty cool. But the one they're putting out tomorrow, which unfortunately it would be very unfair of me to put it up on this. I think it's pretty cool. It's definitely very different to the other ones, and it's got a chance. But I just think it's well done to the guys at the Cheetahs and
Yeah.
Canterbury for putting the effort in, putting out there, because you know, for the diehard fans, yeah, you love talking about kits, and I describe each and every one of us here as a diehard.
Yeah,
Sure,
and
we
you
all
know,
have our favourite
it's
jerseys.
it's a very clever way of approaching it, because my day job, I work in advertising, and the major problem when you bring out anything cold like that is you immediately alienate half the people because they feel they haven't been involved in it. You know, you look at the London Olympics logo and all the fuss that was made out of that. Whereas if you drip feed things and get a little bit of opinion, it doesn't come like a cold bucket of water. So even if you don't like the option, at least you'll have seen it and it won't freak you out. I think that's the way all clubs should do it. You know, here are 6 options. Even if you don't, even if they don't listen to what you say, here they are. We're picking this one. You've been involved. It's a really good way of doing it. I think you'll next season you'll see a lot do that.
Do you know something? The one thing I'd say this, Sean, you come from like Ospreys, where like they basically created a whole identity, even the word Ospreys, all of that sort of stuff. And like they've had some pretty out there away jerseys, and even the home jersey, yeah, it was always black, but they were always thrown in a dash of color and stuff like that. Like from a coach's point of view, look good, feel good. Is there anything in that? Is there, you know, is there pride in being a little bit alternative? Like what was when you saw the kits? Are you involved in that process, or you know?
Yeah, we were early on, and I used to enjoy that part of it, to be honest. Clearly, bringing Neath and Swansea together was an issue. Played in black at home, which was Neath, and white away, which was Swansea. That caused massive issues right at the start. But once people got over that, and the next generation has come through as fans, then. But yeah, it was a big thing because, as you will know, we started selling a lot of shirts as our squad got very much more high profile. When you got somebody at the time like Gavin Henson, who was a public figure on and off the field wearing the shirt, and it did become important because selling the shirts was a massive part of the revenue then and the income. So yeah, we did have a say, and then the players had a say in the design because they wanted to look good. And if they look good and felt good, and we just talked about Nick Williams about that, then they play better. We had an image then and a new brand. So you had to incorporate the new mask and sponsors logos. All of a sudden, if you look good and the kit is nice, then more sponsors want to become involved with you. And then they pay a certain difference for being on the sleeve or the shoulder or the front sponsor or the back sponsor or the shorts or whatever. So yeah, it's massively important. And you know, I enjoyed that sort of thing. I think it got a little bit out of hand, didn't it? You know, because how many colours do you have the choice of? But you've only got to take a leaf out of the All Blacks jersey. I got to laugh, but every year they say, we're launching the new All Blacks jersey and the new All Blacks kit. And I'm going, guess what? It's going to be all black.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's really like the socks and Father Ted. Sometimes it's a really, 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 really black.
Yeah. That's the toughest gig in the world, designing that shirt. I would not want to do that. Because like you say, what you do is different. That's why now it all tends to be about the tech. Or they'll weave something into it, or some of the stitching will have come from a certain part of New Zealand.
Don't get me started. One of my favorite things is to go into the backstories that they get someone to think up to go into the media release for some jersey. Oh my God.
The Leinster Adidas ones they've been a different level of I didn't know there was a local army from the prehistoric ages who invented the spear.
Oh my God! You're
Jesus, there we go.
That one got me really going. That one. It was anyway. Let's talk about positive things. Adam, have you some artwork to put up on screen?
I will. Yeah, I'll just find the magic button, and here we go.
Right.
So, can we? Here's a question for the people who are watching. Could you match the jersey to the person on the podcast who has said? And for those listening, the jerseys we popped up on screen is the Cardiff Quarters jersey from the 1980s. We've got the Adidas French kit from the 80s as well, championed by Serge Blanco. We've got the classic Rugby League Australia kit, the green one with the big yellow gold V's. And then actually we've got another green kit as well. We've got the early 2000s Canterbury Springboks kit as well. With John Smith waving to somebody there. Doesn't look too happy, but I'm pretty sure he's just won a test match. So yeah, we'll open it up to the floor.
He's just waving to the barman right now and saying, "That's mine.
5 pints.
5 pints, please."
Castle.
That was a very good kit. That era when we were just exiting the, we discovered how to make slimmer jerseys,
Yes.
right?
But
they
the old material.
Yeah, so they're a little bit slimmer, little bit sort of more fitted, but you still had that old Canterbury loop collar, and they just made the collar smaller so it didn't flop around as much. But that era of jersey, I think, was very, very good.
Yeah, it was.
So that's my pick there. Just again, and I think you just nailed it. It's before rugby sort of stepped away and not went necessarily. It's this quasi football / astronaut look, and
Yeah.
look, that's sign of the times, But I just love the old feel of those jerseys, and they were just slightly a bit more tailored. But again, just there's something about the box and that green jersey, the orange collar. It's iconic. And look, the box in that 2004, 2005, 2006 era were really good fun to watch as well, because they were power and panache, and Percy Montgomery with that magnificent hair.
Yeah. Yeah, I went for the Cardiff. I nearly said Blues then. Somebody set fire to my house if I said Cardiff Blues. That is Cardiff RFC's shirt from the 1980s. And I just like the quarters. You don't see the quarters anymore. That used to be a big thing in the 80s, the old quarters. And then it all went into the, I think Bath used to have the quarters. Pontypridd did quarters for a while. So I was a big fan of that. You'll probably see that back again now. 80s music's back in. Shell suits.
That was a heavy shirt. That was. I remember
I used to have one of those.
Around those plain and quarter shirts. They were heavy by nature of the stitching and the cloth.
Yeah. And my dad. My dad used to work with a boy who played, so Alan Donovan, who was a winger.
Yeah.
And then Robert Norster used to work with my uncle at Rank Xerox. So I had a couple of my first ever boots were Robert Norster's old boots. And I had one of his old card, and it was like a tent. When you picked it up, it was like the weight on it. I couldn't wear it when I was small because it was like sort of dragging.
I remember playing in a quarter shirt in the Middlesex Sevens finals at Twickenham against Bath with a number 5 jersey, which of course you never had specialized Sevens jerseys back in 1994. So I was wearing the second row's long sleeve number 5,
double XL.
Trying to chase John Callard and Audley Lumsden around Twickenham. Didn't go down too well, mate.
Did you just twist it at the front and tie it into a knot across your belly?
Unbelievable. I obviously chose, not obviously, because I was torn. I didn't realize we could have a rugby league choice because I have a relative, my mother's first cousin, captained the Australian Kangaroos in the late 50s, early 60s, Keith Barnes, and became the coach and the team manager. And I have, because I went out to play in Australia and lived with Keith, I have a pair of test shorts of Mal Meningas.
You're joking.
No, I'll wear them on next week's pod. I'll get them out and I'll wear them for you, right? But my choice was
the weight loss king.
This is just Holly wants to show off his legs.
Sean Meninga. My choice was the French jersey because it's much similar to Adam Springboks. I mean, back when the photo there, Charvet, Sella, Serge Blanco were wearing those, they still looked a little bit more, je ne sais quoi, should we say, than the others. He had the Adidas stripe in, 3 different colors, tricolor down the arm, and the white shorts and the red. So it just looks so good. And I remember going to watch France B against Wales B. It's one of the first ever proper games my dad took me down at the Aberabon ground, about 1978. And Philippe Sella and Serge Blanco made their debuts for France B that same day, just down on the Aberavon pitch there, and I was hooked from there, you know. And so that's my choice, the French 80s kit, the Adidas one.
Yeah, I love that. There's a few different France shirts going through that time, and there's the Lecoq Sportif era, there's the Adidas era, and a lot of them have these little touches that are really nice. And you just nailed the one that I always remember from that shirt, which is the different color stripes on the arm. It's really cool. Love it.
Do you know what I loved on those jerseys as well was they had them in Italia 90 in the football. Was those Adidas numbers? They were like the three stripe.
Oh yeah.
Numbers and stuff like that. They just looked really iconic. And I'm going to probably butcher this, but it's the logo on those jerseys, the Adidas trefoil.
Yes.
That little oval shaped version of the
old
classic
school.
Adidas.
Yeah.
And we did at the start of lockdown, actually, we did show us your shirts. So we got Sean involved and Tommy Bowe and Shane Williams, and Lee Byrne. Like we got a lot of people got involved to just kind of say that these are the kits. Ruben Pienaar did it. These are the kits in my house that I've kept. The reasons they mean something to me. Ross Harris got involved as well, and he pulled Adidas Clonetly jersey. That was pretty special to him, and I had the little trefoil on it, and it was a Ray Gravel shirt.
Oh,
and,
wow.
And it was, I'd never seen it before, and I was like, wow, that is,
So who are we doing?
Those on,
are we doing Auckland on Saturday? We were doing the Blues.
We will be doing Chiefs. We'll preface this by saying all going to plan.
Yeah.
We'll be doing.
But I have an old Auckland jersey here somewhere, a real old one. Shall I try and dig it out and wear it?
Get it on.
Sure, yeah.
It'll fit now as well, probably.
Probably a second row one.
Yeah.
Big
Edie, you picked the Aussie Rugby League jersey.
I don't even like rugby league, but I have always loved that jersey.
Yeah, it is nice. The swoop neck thing with this
green and gold, mate.
Yeah, it is nice.
It's green and gold. It's the big double V's. It's just, I remember seeing it when I was a kid at a training someday. Some other kid was wearing it. And ever since that, I just thought that is a brilliant jerseys. And those double V's are just, they are a rugby league thing. Just as if, they really are rugby league. You don't see any other sport.
That's just dawned on me now, actually, seeing that when I was a kid, that used to be the differentiation, wasn't it? You didn't even have to know what the rules were. You just look on and go, double V's, leagues on.
Yeah, exactly.
All the shirts had that on.
Correct. So they've got the double V's. There's vertical stripes, football, or referees in American sport. And then it's sort of, hoops are very rugby union. Quarters definitely rugby union. Quarters, if you go back, like if you look way back to photos of rugby from donkeys ago, and even old illustrations, you see loads of quarters and half shirts.
Yeah,
from way back.
Did the Lions once upon a time wear a quarters shirt?
I'm not that old. Let's ask Sean.
Oh, geez.
Well, that's one thing I've realised on tonight's pod is I am the oldest on this pod.
You don't look the oldest, though, which is annoying. I look the oldest.
I don't think they did. They may have back in the day. I reminisced about a centenary game, I think it was, when England and Wales joined forces and Scotland and Ireland joined forces. If you watch back on YouTube, that footage is fantastic. Quartered shirts, of course, green and dark blue, and red and white. That was fantastic. But I'm not sure the Lions did. They may have right at the start. I don't know.
I'd love to be at the committee meeting when they were drawing straws with the Celtic nations about who had to join forces with England.
Wales would have gone.
Imagine. Not them.
Give us Ireland or Scotland.
Yeah.
I think so.
But no, apparently the Lions did not always wear red.
No, I don't think they did always wear red. They saw their sense, obviously.
We can give someone some homework now for next week, I think.
Oh, hang on. There's something bad. I've got to bring this up on the live comments. No one read that out.
You are fit and nearly 50. Thank you, Caroline. I think you're amazing too. Thank you very much. That's my one supporter.
You must have cataracts. We'll have to send a doctor out there. Get well soon, Caroline.
Well, there's an
There's
NHS
Dennis
logo.
Taylor in the bottom screen there.
That's harsh. He's lovely.
Joking. He is looking good. He's looking very fit and trim, Caroline.
Now, I think we have to. We've plugged Mr. Williams' column. Have we anything else to plug this week, Mr. Holly? Were you busy?
Yeah, been busy. Actually, it stretched me a little bit. Adam had me looking at. It's Redmond is Redmond is so the youngest member of the pod stretched me a little bit in my analyst eye this week. I've been looking at the last 2 years semi-finals between Leinster and Munster, so 2018 and 2019. We were going to do some sort of comparison, but just very, very difficult to wrap up an analysis piece in a short time that's good for the viewer. Then but so we decided to look at 2019, and we've looked at how Munster's approach play is really good in that game, but just miss a little bit of something, and how savvy Leinster are in understanding that, buying their time and taking their chances with a bit of X factor. That, in a nutshell, Adam, is that, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And then the point as well made is that I suppose when you really, really want to put the stress on the defense, Leinster have those X factor players who will turn a half gap into 15, 20 meters. And but Sean's kind of laying the platform here for Munster fans to say, look, because we live streamed that game tonight before the pod started, and the whole point is, look, Munster fans, you didn't win this one, but guess what? You got 2 Springbok World Cup winners coming along, and we think they may just add the finishing touches to what is a really, really nice looking squad there. And you just need those guys who, against the biggest and the best teams, because we know at Munster over the last number of years, semi-finals has been their end point. And they just need a couple of those X factor players, and while you may have a Gary Ringrose or Jordan Larmour or Robbie Henshaw and some of these guys at Leinster who can do some damage, it's actually, if you've got someone who's going to punch those holes. Very nicely done, Sean. Very nicely done. For our audio
I'm getting a cup of tea, believe it or not.
Sean's having a cup of tea passed into him. He's very gently nudged the camera.
It's good camera work.
But back to Munster, yeah. Snyman and Dialande, they should put people under pressure this season, and let the likes of Keith Earls, Andrew Conway, Conor Murray, and these guys run riot.
They should. So when we're talking about rugby, actual rugby, we were talking about Super Rugby earlier on. We've got some provinces, to use the Irish term for teams. We're starting to come back. Testing has started. There's an approach coming back. We won't go into depth on it this week. We've taken enough of your time this evening. But on players who are...
I think Andy's possibly
now, so
gone slightly. He's back.
Dean Budd, Alessandro Zani, Ian McKinley. There's a few players now who've gone.
And he's
would like to talk to on the show about his experience and what he's going to do next.
Very good. So I'm glad actually Benetton have announced they've announced these guys retiring, because hopefully that means Dean Budd is open to the prospect of becoming a regular member of the pod, which means people will have to listen to less of me and more of people like Paul and Sean, who are and Andy, who are far more equipped to capture your imagination. And subsequently, Andy has just got the black screen of death.
It's turned into like a little whirlpool.
Yeah, so I'm just going to drop Andy out of the screen, and after an hour and 18 minutes, we want to say big thanks to Nick Williams for joining us, and well done, Dan Hadley, for your question that is going to earn you some bear hug gear. And I'm going to bring Andy back in because he's removed from the black screen of death, and hopefully he can give Big Red Cloud the thumbs up as we do Decomi Cheetahs to end the show. Andy. Yeah,
Big Red Cloud do not do broadband services, but if they did, they would be excellent.
That's gorgeous.
Right? That was Under the Sticks, presented by Big Red Cloud. My name is Andy McGeady. Thanks for listening or watching. We'll talk to you soon. Decomi Cheetah, cheetah, cheetah. Cheetah, cheetah, cheetah.